Textbooks tell the real story. Agnes de Snake designed the weather walls. The Linksleys stole everything. Reptiles have lived freely in Zootopia for decades. Judy and Nick are retired legends. The city moved on. But here's the thing about history. It doesn't end. It runs. It's a river. You can't just watch it go past. You live in it. And desperate people who struggle to find their vessel in that river of time never stop being desperate. Pawbert Linksley is getting out of prison. He's been inside for 40 years. His father, Milton, is on his deathbed. Milton was released decades ago, too old and broken to be a threat. He never once visited his youngest child, never wrote a letter, never acknowledged him. Pawbert's siblings, Catrick and Kitty, also did time, and also got out long before him. They do something unexpected. They write books, lots of them, tell-all exposés about the Linksley family's corruption, tell-alls about their brother Pawbert specifically. His manipulation, his violence, his desperate need for approval, and how their father was the root cause of it all. The books become bestsellers. Now Catrick and Kitty own a media empire alongside Nibbles Maplestick. Progressive news channels, podcasts, publishing houses. They're beloved, they're rich, they have social capital once more, not as Linksleys, but as repentant former members of Zootopia's most vilified family. They're everything Pawbert isn't. And Pawbert? He's 70 years old, walking out of prison with nothing but the clothes on his back, and a lifetime of misplaced rage. Before his and his family's foiled attempts to hide the work of Agnes de Snake, he seemed harmless, at least at first. Awkward, shy, made nervous jokes. Worked in the mailroom even though his family owned half the city. Even though he was in his 30s, you felt sorry for him. He helped Judy and Gary, saved Judy from a cop, took them to his hideout, helped them understand the journal. He seemed like a friend. Then he injected Judy with snake venom. He threw Gary into the snow to freeze, stole the medicine that could save her life. When she begged him to be different from his family, he said,
"I don't want to be different."
That's the key to Pawbert. He didn't care about the Linksley family ideas. Not really. He didn't care about the truth. He cared about one thing: belonging, in a world that he didn't understand and couldn't find his place, hadn't been allowed to find his place. He wanted his father to love him, wanted to be a real Linksley, wanted to matter. And he was willing to do anything for that. Everything was a transaction. Had been since he was a child, since his father molded him. He wasn't just awkward as a child. Pawbert was broken. His family abused him. Well, not his mother. She died giving birth to him. Something his father had reminded him of constantly. You've been slowly killing my family name since you killed your mother. His siblings bullied him. His father liked that. His father either outright ignored or used him as a punching bag, at least at first. He grew up believing this was normal. And although he discovered more about what his family legacy really was, he still didn't betray them to the law. Because like many victims of abuse, he only knew that he wanted to win the love of those who showed him nothing but contempt. His father saw this desperation and encouraged it, began trickling out the breadcrumbs of temptation to young, broken Pawbert, yet told him that even if he did manage somehow to find a way to contribute to the Linksley name, he would never really have his father's forgiveness for what you did to your mother. This left scars that would never heal in Pawbert's soul. He came to truly believe that since no one loved him, he would never, ever rely on anyone to give him the love he so dearly wanted. He now needed to measure his worth in some other way just to keep him from losing any glimmer of self-esteem he had left. These glimmers dulled to a nothingness anyway, yet he still limped lamely on through his young life, searching for some way to help his family, so that then they would get out of his way as he took control from them. And somewhere along the way, something deep, bone deep inside him cracked. He took to taking his motorbike through the darkest suburbs of Zootopia, late at night. He met wandering entertainers, deep in the dark undergrowth of Marsh Market. These were no normal entertainers. They fostered in him an outlet for the scars he carried deep inside, knowing that he would use them to his own ends. This would provide him with weapons to sharpen his focus and begin to form an idea of how he would take his family back. First, to have them forgive him, then to have them beg him to let them stay. The entertainers taught him how to act. They taught him how to charm a group of people, how to smile in a way that told the audience not to fear the trauma written on his face, but to pity him for how he learned to fumble words and actions. He was a cracked, yet blank canvas, and the vagrant entertainers produced from this a relatively likable class clown of sorts. A comedian if need be, a whining supplicant if necessary, but always he remained himself within. One particular entertainer, Slither's Cone, took him under his scales and taught him to bewitch his audience with the most self-deprecating and disarmingly childlike charm when he needed. How to berate hecklers with snake-like speed and disarm them. To harness the power of those in the audience who loved him against his detractors. And also, Cone taught him to never apologize for a bad act. Deny until you die, he said. He developed what experts call superficial charm, the ability to seem warm and friendly while feeling nothing underneath. He never mentioned his mother, the Linksley he had never met, the one who had given him life as he had taken hers. But any time someone talked about their mother, he had a tendency to grab his whiskers, twist and mangle them until they were permanently disfigured. He studied other animals working in the mailroom, learned what they needed, gave them just enough to earn their trust, learned what they disliked about their situation. He watched their hackles rise and their eyes sparkle with unborn rage as they mentioned how they had been left behind. He began to see them as a personal army in waiting. But he had other things to do, and they never really saw him as one of them anyway, no matter how hard he tried, no matter how many palms he greased, no matter how many people he helped work late shifts. He was never really a mailroom worker. And despite having grand ideas about how to advance the department and earn the trust of his family in some small way, he nearly ran it into the ground with his grand schemes many a time. He was, by any clinical definition now, a sociopath, well and truly, but he was one that was made, not born, created by years of cruelty and neglect, a mammal who had learned that love is something you earn by being useful, and that connection is a transaction. And with no one to lean on, he realized that the only safe space for him would come from a particular type of power over others. He could not risk his family's true legacy, of which now he had more than an inkling to get out. You of course know the rest of this part of the tale, as he sought Agnes de Snake's original patent, utilizing his superficial sociopathic charm to garner the trust of her descendant, Gary de Snake. When Judy grabbed his foot and begged him to be different, she was asking the impossible. You can't ask a sociopath to feel empathy. It's not that simple. All they have is strategy. And Pawbert's strategy for 40 years in prison after that moment was simple. Wait. Pawbert, despite what people said about him later on, never really cared for fashion or outward appearance. Not in the way others did, anyway. His suit at the gala was wrinkled when he met Judy. His whiskers were, of course, permanently so. His matte grey fur was well-groomed enough to convince the public of his place within his family. But next to his brother and sister, and of course next to his father, he always looked shabby and insufficient. This became part of his strategy, to keep them at an arm's length until he needed them. And so even when he tried to look put together, something was always slightly off. Good-looking suits, but cheap to the touch. But by the time you were close enough to touch his suit, you were within his powers, and too busy feeling sorry for him as a person to notice. Imagine the anxiety, the isolation, the constant grinding pressure of a world that makes no sense, and now add 40 years in a maximum security prison. Pawbert starts losing his fur in year 3 of his sentence. It comes out in clumps, patches on his shoulders, a spot behind his ear, his lower back. The prison doctors say it's stress. They give him ointments, nothing works, By year 10, he looks like a moth-eaten rug. And as is the counterintuitive nature of these things sometimes, Pawbert starts realizing that his outer image now reflects what he feels on the inside. Patched, broken, and fading fast. He finds nothing left to live for but his image, but his newfound pride in his outer appearance. No one must know that he feels this way on the inside. He finds a solution for the fur. A guard smuggles him a product from the outside. His family still has influence and riches enough, and even for someone so hated as he amongst his dynasty, he still gets a bone thrown every now and then. Easy to smuggle in was the spray-on fur replacer. You shake the can, spray it on, and it covers the bald spots. Instant fur. The problem is the color. His family did not like helping him in any way. So although they felt obligated to give him something, they gave him the wrong product. Pawbert's natural fur is, as I said, a soft matte gray, classic lynx coloring. The spray-on stuff, it's bright silver. Shiny, metallic, larger than life, like someone tried to make fur glamorous and failed completely. Pawbert doesn't have enough to spray over his entire body. It wouldn't look so bad then, he tells himself. Maybe in the future at some point. But he only has enough to spray on and maintain the ever-increasing patches of bare skin coming through the fur. Pawbert has spent so long on his own that as long as the paint is on these patches of skin, he doesn't even seem to notice that it's there. He sprays it on every morning. The silver patches stand out against his gray fur like neon signs. They catch the light. They shimmer when he moves. He never mentions them to other inmates. Never acknowledges that they're there to the parole board whenever they inevitably send him back to his isolated cell, denied again. When the other inmates do sometimes see him and stare at his patches, he stares back at them. His eyes get that yellow glow. The inmates look away. That guy's crazy. The silver patches become his signature. In prison they're a joke, but Pawbert doesn't see the joke. He now has decided that he is healthy, vibrant, and whole. Any latent anxiety to do with this is solved simply by him surrounding himself by followers who will only say yes to whatever he asks them. He keeps them initially loyal by giving them trinkets that he gets smuggled in from distant cousins and outside followers who, somehow, increasingly, have begun to believe that reptiles are no good for Zootopia. They wish to cross the same stream twice and go back to some magical time before Nick and Judy, the fox and bunny cop duo, were inducted into the ZPD. And this small, stressed, proud group of Zootopian citizens know exactly what Pawbert did, or at least what they thought he was doing, which was, of course, to remove reptiles from the history books of Zootopia once and for all, and at the same time take out Judy and Nick, who have, in the time of their career and since their retirement, become the clarion call for progressivism, and also looking outward beyond the walls of Zootopia to find even more species who had not yet found its hallowed walls. The only thing that's real, Pawbert tells himself every day in his cell, over and over, is power. He can take or leave everything else. So how does Pawbert Linksley, disgraced citizen of Zootopia, become mayor? Who votes for him? Well, think about Zootopia 40 years after the Linksley scandal. Reptiles have been a part of the city for decades. The history books are corrected. Everything is officially fine, but some mammals aren't fine. Their parents brought them up in houses telling them about the better times, when reptiles didn't live in their neighborhoods. And now, they're tired. Tired of hearing about how reptile history has restored Zootopia to its former inclusive glory. Tired of their neighborhoods changing. Tired of the fact that reptiles have moved in and are making good for themselves, and yet these mammals are living just the same and sometimes worse lives. Sometimes it is to do with reptiles. Sometimes it's not. But according to the Pawbert supporters, it's always the reptiles who have been the disruptors in the peace and harmony which apparently once occurred in Zootopia. And this small group of mammals, becoming bigger and increasingly louder by the week, is sick of being told that the city they grew up in was built on a lie that happened before they were born. They just want things to feel normal again. A normal that most of them weren't alive to feel, by the way. They want an apparition. Something that can never happen. Something that, by all rights, and according to the majority of citizens, still should not happen. They don't even have a plan as to how it could happen, even if they do get their way. But upon his release, Pawbert gives them a simple message. He doesn't defend his family's crimes. He barely mentions them. Instead, he talks now about how the elites have forgotten real Zootopians. He points at the media empire his siblings built with Nibble's maple stick, the beaver who helped put him in prison. He calls them the real criminals, the perpetrators of a witch hunt. Out-of-touch millionaires telling everyone else how to think. They write books about me, he says at rallies. They got rich off my name, and now they tell you I'm the monster. Well, the crowds eat it up. Because here's the ugly truth about politics in the Zootopia of today. A story about a corrupt family selling out their own blood, that's more compelling than a story about a failed attempt to destroy evidence that happened 40 years ago. Pawbert doesn't need to defend what he did. He just needs to keep changing the subject. Again and again, berating his naysayers, just as Cone taught him all those years ago, and gaining the support and weaponizing that support of his followers against those hecklers, all at the same time, denying any fault, again and again, pointing his paw accusingly at large posters of photo-edited Judy and Nick looking ashamed of the change that they apparently single-handedly brought to this once fine metropolis. A small but zealous group of Pawbert supporters who have been awaiting his release from prison have been slapping these posters onto every tree, building, and pole in all key districts of Zootopia. In a knee-jerk reaction, the ZPD has been ripping them down as fast as they're being put up. But despite their actions and social outrage at the general dissidence in these small groups of mammals roaming the streets late at night, the posters appear the next day anyway. This continues for weeks, and Pawbert, still only recently released from prison, announces on a locally based podcast that he needs to be part of the solution to address these posters and all the rumors that are accumulating around town to do with him, his statements of dissent, and, according to him, a groundswell from mammals all over Zootopia who support this new populist movement. It's here that he first unleashes the slogan, Zootopia for Zootopians once more. This is the slogan that's being chanted at a small grassroots get-together in Savannah Central, outside Zootopia Central Station. Pawbert arrives in a silver double-decker bus, and as he descends the silver stairways, his own fur a splotchy patchwork of silver itself. He chants the slogan, and the crowd chants back, Zootopia for Zootopians once more. He takes the stage and continues not to apologize for any past actions, deeds, or words. But after a small self-deprecating introduction, who are you all here waiting for? Me? Which calms and reassures the crowd that he is one of them. He expresses shock at how different Zootopia is from when he was incarcerated as part of a witch hunt 40 years ago. Sahara Square, he says. The Rainforest District, Little Rodentia, the Canal District, Outback Island, Meadowlands, Marsh Market, the Burrows. He can barely say this without getting an ill look on his face. The Nocturnal District, Tundra Town, and of course, here in Savannah Central, are no longer safe, are no longer inhabitable by true Zootopians. It's not like it once was. It was better. It was better. Now it's worse, much worse, for all true Zootopians Like you who are standing here before me today, thank you for coming, my friends. You are all so strong, so youthful, so energetic, and I feel energetic. Don't I look energetic? Don't I look youthful? Look at me. I believe that we can take it back once more. He blames all mayors before him. He blames all ZPD operatives since the induction of Hops and Wild, whom he calls decrepit, outdated, and dangerous. Very, very dangerous. This is exactly what his crowds wanted to hear, and they grow at each rally, at each speech, at each event, at each small, socially engineered impromptu press conference that he attends while he is being one of the people out on the street. For years, these mammals have been complaining to no one but each other and themselves. But now, finally, someone they say is speaking out against these injustices. They call him the Great Silver Hope. Everyone else in Zootopia thinks that he's a joke, walking around with splotches of silver all over his body, wearing cheap, nasty suits, spilling increasingly vile vitriol to anyone who will listen at his rallies, which are now infamous across the districts. Early on in the piece, as a joke at one of his rallies, he announced that maybe he could be the next mayor, the one to solve all the problems, and then laughed it off. But he repeated it, rally after rally, the same joke to the same people, and those who came anew were the ones who joined in the cheering at this prospect. And one day, arriving at a rally in what was now known as his characteristic style, in a silver double-decker bus with his closest supporters, he descends the silver staircase, walks onto the stage, and takes the podium. This is a short speech. He announces that he has registered to run for mayor of Zootopia. News travels fast, this time reaching all major news networks. And yet still, it's seen more as a novelty piece of news, laughed at by the majority of news anchors. Pawbert, sitting at the top of his private tower, closely guarded, does as he always does at the end of this day. He watches all news networks and sees which do not laugh at him. He makes a mental note of this. The signs are subtle at first, and still ignored by many. But come election day, Pawbert is elected mayor by a close majority. No one is laughing now. The splotchy silver former criminal mastermind takes his place at the induction ceremony to become the next mayor of Zootopia. Judy and Nick, far away and in retirement in the hills, watch on in horror. Thanks so much for listening, guys. I'm going to be doing a little bit more of this Pawbert story at some point in the future. If you'd like to hear it and you'd like to know when it's coming out, or you just want to support a small channel, please click on the like button below. Subscribing would be amazing. I have 36 subs at the moment, and I'd love to have a few more of you hanging out in my channel. This is TC from ThemeCore. Stay safe, and see you next time. Hooroo.